How's it going, everybody? Jay Luxine here. It is now day 13 of the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte. Let's get into it. Okay, right off the bat, hindi bawal ang gumamit ng alias when submitting your document to the joint circular. According to Attorney Wamil, ang ating witness kaninang umaga, the joint circular is silent when it comes to it. I don't know whatever that means. So basically what he was saying was that there's no law or no regulation that says you cannot use aliases of your confidential agents when submitting documents to a joint circular for audit. Hindi kailangang ilahad ang mga tunay na mga pangalan ng agents na nasa confidential operation ng OVP. And at the same way, hindi rin kailangang ilahad ang mga pangalan ng agents na tumanggap ng finances for the confidential operations. In the past few days of the impeachment trial, the prosecution has been pressing to point out that it is unusual for the OVP to be cashing out the money for confidential fund. However, this morning, Erwin Tulfo pointed out that it is not unusual, as Vice President Sara Duterte was not the only one, or was not the only vice president that had confidential funds. There were other ones in the past. However, the question is still, if Mr. Wamil or Attorney Wamil says that there were unusual movements with the money, with the OVP when they were withdrawing the money, why didn't they file a case against the OVP right away? Instead, they only served a notice of suspension. And then Attorney Wamil says he has no idea why they did not file a case against the OVP when they were seeing unusual movements, with the money. So basically, here's what happened. The OVP submitted their documents for audit of the joint circular. And then when it got to Mr. Wamil's office, when they were to do the audit, they realized that there were missing information of the actions that were done. And so they issued a notice of suspension to the OVP. After they issued that notice of suspension, the OVP then submitted ARs. What is ARs? Acknowledgement receipts, meaning they were given this acknowledgement receipts by the people that received the money for the finances of the confidential operations that they were doing. However, another problem that came with the acknowledgement receipts is that the names that are indicated there who received the money, the finances for the confidential operations, are aliases. It's not the real names of the operatives. However, Attorney Wamil himself said that it is not wrong to use aliases. If a government office used a confidential fund to do or conduct a confidential operation with agents, it's not wrong to use aliases when they submit their papers to audit, right? However, they expect this office to also submit a document saying that these are only aliases because these agents are currently operational in a confidential operation. So in that sense, we can then argue or believe that since the OVP did not divulge the real names of the agents that received the finances for a confidential operation and did not attach a document indicating that these are only aliases, we can only speculate that the confidential operation is still ongoing, and divulging that information might put the operation at risk. Now, pagdating naman doon sa some of the payments that the OVP did or gave to a confidential operator, it was in kind. Basically, hindi pera yung binigay, kundi gamot. So, when Attorney Wamil was asked about this, ang sagot niya is hindi naman po mali yun, hindi naman po illegal yun. Kasi walang regulations sa joint circular that says payments to confidential assets or operatives should only be in cash. They can also actually pay in kind, like food ba, or gamot ba or yung whatever they agreed on. Ngayon, balik tayo dun sa mga aliases muna. Is it really allowed to use aliases? Meron bang leeway to use aliases for a government office to spend the confidential fund? Si Joel Villanueva talked about ISAI 100. ISAI 100 is International Standard of Supreme Institute. This is an institute that the Philippines is a member of. Doon sa ISAI 100, nakalagay doon na auditors, like itong joint circular, are required to audit confidential funds of a government office, but also is expected to be lenient if there is an ongoing confidential operation. Ibig sabihin po nito, yes, kailangan i-audit ng joint circular paano ginastos ng OVP yung confidential fund sa kanilang confidential operation. However, kung ang operation na yan is still ongoing and active pa rin, ang joint circular should consider kung ang sinumitan na papers ng OVP for audit are only aliases and names. Naintindihan po ba? So bakit i-allow kung aliases lang? Kasi nga, ongoing pa yung confidential operations nila. And if pag binigay na yung information, names or locations or ano yung information na binayaran nila para mabili nila, pwedeng ma-at risk yung years of work nila in investigating and coming up with the case in a confidential na operation ng OVP. So kaya kailangan bigyan muna ng leeway ang OVP if ongoing pa ang operation. So eto na nga, okay, nandun na tayo lahat. Naintindihan na natin na sige, pwedeng gumamit ng aliases. Okay. However, ang mga sinubite na documents ng OVP naman for audit are not official receipts, only acknowledgement receipts. Hindi siya yung official talaga na resibo. Acknowledgement lang. And di ba pag bumibili tayo, hinihingi natin yung mga OR kasi yun yung nag-i-indicate talaga na totoo yung purchase natin. So dahil acknowledgement receipt lang yung binigay, pwede natin questionin na, teka, ginastos mo ba talaga yung pera for an intelligence information purchase or napunta lang sa'yo and then gumawa ka na lang ng acknowledgement receipt kunwari para masubmit mo sa COA for audit? Now, you have to understand ganito. Only business establishments are allowed or able or empowered to give official receipts. Yung mga businesses lang na nagbebenta or nagbibigay ng serbisyo ang allowed ng magbigay ng official receipts. Kung tao naman ang tatanggap, paano ka magbibigay ng OR? Hindi ka naman registered as a business na klase ng tao. You're an individual, di ba? Meaning to say, if yung operative na tumanggap ng pera para sa finances to purchase an information that they gathered, about whatever confidential operation they're doing, that person cannot offer an official receipt because he's not a business. He's an agent. So still, that reasoning of they only submitted acknowledgement receipts which makes it illegal will not stand. So ito na, nag-release na ng statement ang joint circular na kulang ang information na binigay nyo, right, under Mr. Wamil. And then the OVP reached back out to them and said, okay, what do we have to do? We can submit it. However, nung nag-submit sila, Mr. Wamil is out of the office na. And, he's basically has no knowledge about, the following already. So he's not competent to be a witness when it comes to what happened after they issued the notice of suspension. Ngayon, punta naman tayo sa evidence of success. Itong evidence of success is a document that the OVP should submit to joint circular to show them na, okay, ito na yung mga pinagkagastusan namin and here are, basically the rundown of the success of what we did with that money that we were given. Itong si Attorney Wamil naman will take the evidence of success, take the amount of money that was given to them, and then try to reconcile it together kung tama ba. Ito yung amount ng money ginastos, ito yung success daw nila, tama ba? Nagko-coincide ba? Or may sobra o may kulang? Para malaman if yung pera ba talaga napunta dun sa operations na sinasabi nilang nag-succeed. So, ngayon naman, according to Attorney Wamil, yung sinubmit daw ng OVP na evidence of success is kind of questionable, kuno. So Senator Robin Padilla basically kind of just put things in order. He asked Attorney Wamil, have you been to the mountains? Have you been around the Philippines? And do you know when the NPA's anniversary is? To all of this, Attorney Wamil's answers were no. But Robin Padilla pointed out that May 29th was the NPA's anniversary. And then he asked if, did you notice any terrorism attack lately? No. Do you know the needs in the mountains for medications, for medicines? No. What was Robin Padilla doing? He was trying to show Attorney Wamil na you say you kind of question the evidence of success that was submitted to you. And you say you're the head of the investigation or the audit when it comes to spending the confidential fund. But you have no idea whatsoever if there were any terrorist attack in the country, if there were, medicines given to the mountains, to the people that are needing it. None of those. So where do you basically base your investigation and your, judgment towards Sara Duterte when it comes to the payment and the use of the money? Next, Senator Amy Marcos asked Attorney Wamil, pinagbabawal ba ng joint circular or ng COA ang pagsumite ng AR or acknowledgement receipts dahil ito ay hindi considered official receipt? Attorney Wamil says no, there are no law or regulation that prohibits submission of acknowledgement receipts. So ibig sabihin nun, pwede, acceptable if nag-submit ng acknowledgement receipts ang OVP for a confidential operation. Now, ang sunod na tanong ni Amy Marcos was, meron bang findings na yung sinumite ng OVP na ARs or acknowledgement receipts are fake or forged? According to Attorney Wamil, wala din. In fact, COA did not raise, a concern or a question when it comes to submitting acknowledgement receipts with aliases in them. So parang ganito, pinapalabas lang ng prosecution ang narrative na one, unusual yung mga transaction. Pangalawa, illegal yun kasi walang official receipts and acknowledgement receipts lang ang meron. However, if you really dig deep, there's no regulations that says, acknowledgement receipts should not be accepted. No regulation that says in the receipts or acknowledgement receipts, real names of the agents should be divulged. And then sinundan pa yan ni Ejercito, JV Ejercito, na is it legitimate to protect or conceal confidential names? Ang sagot na Attorney Wamil, yes. Follow-up question, how do we conceal the names na legal para hindi siya maging foul sa inyo as audit? Attorney Wamil says, there is no law or regulation on how to properly conceal intelligence agents' name. What are we even talking about here? Hindi naman pala illegal, hindi naman pala bawal. What are we doing? Oh, I know. We're spending 25 million pesos a day of the taxpayers' money for this stupid impeachment trial that is, not going anywhere. Yun na yun. All the other things are just talk, paulit-ulit na mga information na you don't even need in this video because it's gonna be like 30-40 minutes of the same words, same phrases, same everything. Yun na yun. The prosecution is only trying to stitch up a narrative na unusual yun, bawal yun kasi acknowledgement receipt. But, golly, their own witness, an attorney no less, himself said na hindi bawal i-conceal ang names, walang regulations on paano ang tama na pag-conceal ng names ng operatives, hindi bawal ang acknowledgement receipts either. This whole thing is crumbling right before our eyes. And the prosecution still tries to keep feeding the lies. I don't know, guys, I don't know. If you're still buying this, it's up to you. I'm not doing it. This is another 25 million gone today for this stupid impeachment trial. Are we just gonna keep spending 25 million and forget about the trillions that Romualdez and Zaldico took from us. Is this what we're gonna do? I don't know. I honestly don't know now. Prosecution needs to take a sudden hard turn to make all of us believe that there's really something there. Because golly, you are all falling and failing at this terribly. Even ang regular na Pilipinong hindi nag-aaral ng abogasya, kayang intindihin to, na you guys are only constructing a narrative to smear Sarah's name for 2028 election. Good luck. Oh my gosh. Well guys, panatiliing bukas ang isipan, panatiliing piliin na makinig muna at mag-isip bago tumalak. My goodness. Another 25 million down the drain. What can we do? Let's be better. Let's be better Pinoys.